Good morning. It's been a while. I wanted to give you all an update about Tim's cancer process. And I am in my bathrobe with chickens to my left, chickens behind the phone that I'm recording this on, and my phone is actually balanced on a pile of eggs. And that is just reflective of the world I'm in right now. I want to squeeze in just a few minutes to give you an update because it's kind of a big week in terms of cancer and Tim's journey and our journey. And I feel like I've been running full throttle since June. We're now in the month of November 2022. November, not quite yet. End of October. It's Halloween weekend. This weekend, like this past week, was just crazy because our dog ran away, and you would have thought that they lost their dad because it was just like the emotions were that intense. Fortunately, our dog returned, and now he has a satellite tracker on him, costing us like $250 for a 2-year subscription. But that's what you do when, the emotional glue for the family disappears and you realize that it's the emotional glue when it's gone. So anyways, back to Tim and cancer. He has multiple myeloma. He was diagnosed in June. It was a very death's door kind of diagnosis. He was in full renal failure at the time of diagnosis. And we didn't know that. We thought he had a sinus infection that was just not getting better. And then one morning he woke up vomiting fluids, went in for a full lab panel workup that day, and that evening went into the ER. And then 2-3 days later, he received the diagnosis of a very advanced state of multiple myeloma with light chains around 3,500. This September, he went in for another heavy dose of chemo, which his body responded well to. At the time of that admission, his cancer numbers were up to around 14,500. During that treatment, in the midst of everything else and the ICU experience, his cancer numbers actually finally responded to the chemo and dropped into the 800s. Right now, today, he had a lab workup 2 days ago, and his cancer light chains are around 3,000, again, 3,500. So this is an extremely aggressive form of cancer. It grows very rapidly. He has a particular genetic mutation that it makes it hard to respond to treatment. He had fallen out of line for the stem cell transplant because the cancer numbers were not responding to the chemo. And they needed those numbers to drop way down in response to the chemo. And then they were going to wipe everything out, kind of reboot him with the stem cell transplant. His oncologist was opting for CAR T-cell therapy. Sadly, this week, Thursday, we learned that our insurance, Network Health, it's been great so far, but it won't cover CAR T-cell therapy. So we learned that on Thursday. So because his cancer numbers were responding to the chemo, his doctor, Dr. DeCall, decided to switch back to the stem cell transplant. So beginning next week, he's going to have 9 different days where he goes in and has, they're going to be extracting stem cells on 2 days. He has 2 full day treatments, and then in between that he's having something else happen. So he'll be going into West Bend Hospital and then downtown to Freighter to the cancer center for 9 days. And then the first Monday, the week of Thanksgiving, he will be admitted for 2 to 3 weeks at Freidert, to have his whole system kind of, a huge heavy dose of chemo followed by the stem cell transplant, which they kind of call it a rebirth of sorts. And then beyond that, he'll be there for close watch as his immune system kind of drops to zero, and then his system reboots and rebuilds to a point where he's safe to come home. So I feel like I'm in a state of like, holy shit. Like my head is just like spinning. I don't even know that I've had time to fully digest and feel what I feel around all this. I think I've been going through the motions, just putting one foot in front of the other, trying to attend to all the stuff. And I don't even know what there is to feel. I feel like we are, our girls are wanting to go out and celebrate Halloween this weekend. And I have a dear, dear friend who, thank goodness, like through Facebook, you connect with people that were a part of an old past life. And we reconnected kind of several years ago now, but just intermittently. And she called me, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and I said, well, when this is all done and when we're on the other side, like I want to make a trip out to the New England area and see you and your family. And she said, I'm thinking of coming to see you like soon. Like I want to come help. So she arrived yesterday, and her name's Kelly also. And it's just been amazing. Like it's amazing when, you see somebody and you just haven't skipped a beat. Like you just see them and you've always seen them, even if you haven't seen them for 30 years. So she's been cooking, and today we're canning the rest of our tomatoes from the garden. We're making bone broth and I don't know, just enjoying each other's company. And she like packed up things from her house, like her gifts. She walked around her house and just started throwing stuff into the suitcase to bring as gifts. And like, it's just so touching and so beautiful. And I don't know, I feel like I'm constantly in the midst of partnering with Tim through cancer. And, I still feel very committed to climate work and like caring for our planet. And I feel very committed to health and healing in my role as occupational therapist and rehab manager. And it just, times like now, like bring me back to just the simplicity of what makes life worth living, what makes life beautiful, what gives us the experience of thriving. And yesterday, thriving was like seeing my friend who I hadn't seen in 30 years and just like hugging her and going out and having coffee with her and catching up and reminiscing about, these just beautiful times together when we were in college in Brussels and Brussels, Belgium. And like it was instant when we met each other. We just knew we were going to be friends for a long time. And she very much became a part of our family. And I was in her wedding, and, and then we kind of lived and just didn't see each other for a long time. But she was living abroad, and I was, I kind of secluded away from the world and in order for a good number of years. And so thriving is like reigniting that friendship and sharing time together. Last night we had this amazing dinner. She made salmon because that's one of my daughter's favorite foods is salmon. So she made a beautiful salmon for dinner, and Tim made a Basque Spanish cheesecake that was like so dense and so gooey and delicious on the inside. And we had this lovely Spanish wine, and it was just like that time around the table, and she brought a cover from her house. It was just this old, it was fabric from old saris that had been sewn together, and that became our tablecloth. And it was just simple. It was like a simple, lovely, amazing meal. And I don't think it gets any more beautiful than that. Like sitting around a table, talking and sharing time together and watching each other smile and laugh and just take in each other's presence. And I think in a way, like when I think of how we met back in college and my time living in Europe, and, you know, I think one of the things that impressed upon me the most about living in Europe, one of the things that I enjoyed the most was just that was so built into the fabric of society, a shared meal. It didn't have to be a complicated meal. It didn't have to be anything more than a loaf of bread and a bottle of wine and just like time. And I had a conversation earlier this week with a new friend, Mark Buckley, who's in the, if you work in the climate arena, you would know his name, but he's getting ready to go to COP27 in Egypt. And we were just talking and kind of got on the subject of farm and food. And, you know, in the space of climate work, you know, one of the best things people can do is regenerative farming, regenerative land management, regenerative agriculture, and, you know, just thinking about our systems in a regenerative way so that we're not exhausting our resources. We're not exhausting our supply of the things that nurture us. And as I was sitting around the table last night, like, I was like, it's such an anchor, like a good meal shared together with good company, having good conversation it's just like it touches our DNA. Like it's just so much a part of who we are. And I feel like if we were to go back in time, I don't know, I've been watching Outlander, which is fun. Not a huge TV watcher, but I'm enjoying that show very much, and was just appreciating how like the person with the big house on the big hill with the big property, like people were paying tithes or money to that person because they were cultivating the land, and the produce that was produced on that land went back to feed the people. And you know, and in a way it feels like that drive to increase our growth, increase our yields, has contributed to like this. I think we forgot what it was all about. You know, we forgot that this drive to keep growing, keep producing more, keep cultivating more, keep extracting more, to produce more, to cultivate more, to give out more. You know, it's, I don't know, like there's I don't know. I'm losing my thought here, but something about last night eating and like just with the uncertainty of what's happening with my husband and his journey, it just felt like so simple and so full to just be talking about food and appreciating company. And there was no want for anything more. There was no need for anything more. And at the end of the meal, like we were so satisfied because it was simple but raw, like whole ingredients that were all mixed together to create this meal. And it was deeply satisfying on all the levels. And I think like if I were to get to the core of like, what do I want for us as a family? What do I want for people, period? Like, what do I want for humanity? What do I want for, like, what's my vision of a world in which people are thriving? It's that we preserve that right for all humans everywhere to be able to share, you know, share in a loaf of bread, share in a decent meal, in the good company of ones we love. And I think my other want would be that we like question all of the other stuff that we fill in. Like, why all the stuff? Why the need for all the extra stuff? I think sometimes if we get back to like the simple and we really tend to the basics and the simple, like the need for that extra stuff kind of disappears because we're so filled and satisfied on this like really personal, simple level that the extra stuff becomes, we quickly realize how non-essential it is. I don't know. These are just thoughts that are going through my head right now. And they feel important to share. And I don't know exactly why, because I feel like they're probably thoughts that everybody has. But I'm kind of tired of like just thinking about them for myself and wondering if everyone has them. They feel important to put out there in some way. And I think at the precipice of like potentially losing, you know, I don't know what's down the road for us as a family and for my husband. I feel like it's all making me really like get really simple about like, you know, these moments that I just value so much. And they're such simple moments. I value like the attention and the care that he gives to the food that he prepares. I value like the attention and then the care that he gives to the gardens that he grows. And I value, you know, the way that our earth like cares for us and nurtures us, like, and gives so abundantly. And I feel so deeply aware that like none of those things are to be taken for granted ever. Like there's not a second that I should take them for granted because they're an absolute gift and they're absolute like, you know, they feed me and nurture me deeply. And I'm also aware that like the more that I appreciate, the more that I express and acknowledge that these are gifts, like the more my heart opens to receive the abundance of them. And I think that would be like my parting invitation to you as my listener, is to like tune into those simple things and how they nurture you and sustain you, or tune into maybe where you're not allowing time and room for those things and make room for them. And I don't think it's always a matter of like carving out space, like it's just like a quality of attention. You know, so like when you are eating, eat mindfully. When you are conversing, converse mindfully. When you are reuniting with someone you haven't seen in a long time, like just do it mindfully. When you are walking around on the planet, looking around at the beauty and life that springs all around, like do it mindfully and don't take it for granted, because it may not always be here. None of it. And I think when we don't take it for granted, I think when we are grateful, like it doesn't necessarily like me acknowledging this tree that you can't see right here that has like some yellow leaves still sitting on it, and there's like a leaf falling down. Like when I take in the beauty of it and acknowledge it and feel grateful for the just all that it's giving, like as the leaves fall and penetrate, you know, their nutrients into the earth, like me taking a few moments to appreciate this, it doesn't expand the time that this tree is going to be in the form that it's in. Pretty soon all those leaves are going to drop. But what it does do is like it expands my own experience of time inside of me, and these moments of like looking at it stretch out almost into a type of infinity. And I feel that is true in my partnership with my husband too, like as he's in this time of we don't know where this is going to go and how long it's going to last. But I feel like as I acknowledge him and I'm grateful and appreciative of the moments that we have, it's like those moments expand into an infinity, and like they take on a kind of permanence that, you know, his physical timeline might be different than we anticipated or hoped for, but there's an infinity that I get to experience as I just appreciate the simple moments and appreciate them with like my eyes open, my heart open, like my being open to the beauty of those moments. So I think that's there for all of us to appreciate in one another, appreciate in the sustenance that we take in, appreciate in the beauty all around. And I think when we do that, it's really the difference between just existing here and trying to make time move more quickly to like thriving here and allowing time to take on an infinite quality. And I think it matters, you know, it matters because when we do that, then I think the more that we do that, we show up differently. We prioritize things differently. We love more fully. Yeah. I think that's the end of what I have to share today, and I really appreciate you being here, and yeah, I deeply appreciate you being here. I don't know all of you, but I have had some beautiful interactions with some of you, and I've read many, like the comments. I haven't had all the time I would like to reply, but I just feel so nourished by just, feel like my sense of community is just expanding. So yeah, there's something incredibly beautiful about that, and it makes this journey feel a whole lot less lonely. So thank you, and peace to you, love to you, and to your, you know, those that you spend time with in your world, and may today be a good one. Peace.